And now it's Wednesday night at 9:30 Pacific, 12:30 in the East. Welcome to the Zenny Abraham live stream, where in this world, you ever remember that famous voiceover artist who would do the commercials for the blockbuster movies where he would say, in a world, well, I would say, in a world where it seems like there is a tack a moment and where GOP politicians are beating up reporters, it's nice to know that we can have one place where we can talk about NFL football. Welcome, because we can talk about NFL football and politics and everything else and just kind of let her rip. Yeah, I did say in a world where GOP politicians beat up reporters. I said that, okay? Unbelievable story, but what I want to talk about, what's really burning on my mind right now, is this, rather fascinating question. First, I start by saying, hello, everybody. And I am firing up the live stream. Well, the live stream's already fired up. What am I talking about? I'm firing up the watch page. It sounds like a song. I'm firing up the watch page. I'm firing up I'm firing it all up. I'm lighting it up. I only have a lighter here. But what I'm doing is going to the watch page and I'm going to tweet out what's happening. Here's my question to you. I will wait until a sufficient number of you have come in. And I will say hello as I do. Hello, everybody. Hello, hello, hello. Hello. And I will put myself on mute. And I have muted myself. And thank you very much for the 2 thumbs up already. For those of you who have asked, by the way, I'm still working on that stock ownership angel investor, micro angel investor idea. Bear with me. And Brian Guidry, Steve Collins, Go Warriors. Go Warriors. Hey, I saw the clips from your first live streams. Nice. One piece of advice. Look at the camera and wave. Okay? And try to do that as often as you can. Sometimes I don't. I'm in the middle of talking, or I'll have a guest picture, right? But the bottom line is do something to engage with your audience. At any rate, Maniac, encoder, do you use Zenny, my encoder, whatever that is? I have no idea who that. Oh, go Warriors. What kind of encoder do you use? I use my iPhone. I use YouTube Mobile Live. Or YouTube Live Mobile. Hello, Rick Rice. How are you doing? And Dorian. What is up, Dorian? We are all here. And for that, I have a question for the brethren. Who's worth more? Derek Carr or Kirk Cousins? Now, yes, I know you're Raider fans, and hey, I get it. But the bottom line is Hector, you're a day late on that discussion, but yeah, it was approved. But the whole point is, who is worth more? Who is worth more? Derek Carr. I'm serious. Derek Carr or Kirk Cousins? I'm serious about it. I'm serious. Because Kirk Cousins has been in the league 3 years, right? But he's seeking money that will put him on a par with Andrew Luck. Does that sound familiar? Kirk Cousins' situation, I'm about to tweet this out because it would be fun to sneak in a late night Redskins fan or 3 or 4 or 100. But the bottom line is, Kirk Cousins is facing the same situation that Derek Carr is. He wants a contract. The difference, however, is that Carr is impatient to get one, whereas Cousins is willing to wait it out just a little bit, okay? And I think there's a reason for that. Carr says Kirk Cousins is overrated, says Adam. Carr by far. And I would say, I would say they're about even. Now, I would not have said that 2 years ago, obviously, but I would say now they're about even. And the reason for that is one, Jay Gruden. I think Jay Gruden has done an outstanding job of bringing the young Kirk Cousins along. I was critical of how Cousins came up, pissed off a lot of Redskins fans, but the bottom line is you got to give Kirk Cousins his due, all right, in terms of where he's arrived, okay? But is he worth more than $24 million a year? And is Derek Carr worth more than $24 million a year? We're both facing the July 15th deadline. If neither one gets a contract, then come 2018, we're looking at two very valuable quarterbacks in free agency. Once again, okay, that's what we're staring at. Because the Redskins have franchised Kirk Cousins. But I'm going to argue that you can interchange them. Kirk Cousins could come to the Raiders. Derek Carr could go to the Redskins. And they could both make the same money. Kirk Cousins is always clearing about $24 million because of the franchise, but that's it. All right? Now, Go Warriors is streaming, man. Dorian says Carr has played a big part in changing a franchise, which is rare. Right, but you could argue, as I argue, that so did Cousins. I mean, Kirk Cousins, just like Derek Carr, marched the Redskins to a playoff. I mean, you can make that claim, all right? But is he good enough to carry a team? Is he good enough to carry the Redskins? Is he worth Andrew Luck money? Is Derek Carr worth Andrew Luck money? What have they done that, other than your like for them emotionally, or Carr, what has he done that makes you say, yeah, all right? I'm asking. John Davis says, quote, QB should have a cap. This is getting out of hand. It is getting out of hand. Hey, Donis, how you doing? It is getting out of hand. Hey, John Marks, how are you? Barry Lee, Donis, John, the all-stars are here. Dorian, Jamal Mills. Hello, Jamal, how are you? We've got them all. Maniac, Adam, Brian, Rick Rice. We've got them all. Cheetan, we've got them all. We are all here. The knights of a rather giantly large round table are here. So, I ask. Barry Lee says, yeah, Carr is good, but not that good for that type of money. Now, is he worth more than Kirk Cousins? I ask you this. Here's my point about Cousins, all right? I thought Cousins was crap until he brought the Redskins back from being down 24-7 against the Bucks 2 years ago. That was mostly the brilliant play calling of Jay Gruden, but hey, someone had to execute it. And the dude was focused. He was locked in. I mean, he was locked in. Jamal Mills says, I think Derek Carr is going to be better than Andrew Luck. Donis says, did I miss anything last night? A little bit. I don't want to recap that right now, Donis. I want to talk about Derek Carr versus Kirk Cousins versus Andrew Luck. Rick Rice says Carr is most valuable for what he does off the field. He's a born leader, worth every penny. Look at what happened when he got hurt. Right, but on the other hand, you could also argue that Kirk Cousins is a born leader of the Redskins and has been a great participant in the Redskins, the Washington community, and wife's got a baby on the way. I think a few weeks now, maybe a few months, something like that. So again, I am a Kirk Cousins fan as much as I am a Derek Carr fan. But I'll tell you this. If I had to choose between them, who would I choose? They're the same. I view them as interchangeable. But to me, and this includes Andrew Luck, and I think John Davis said it, that these salaries are out of hand. I want my quarterback to play me into the playoffs. Cousins has had one shining moment year. You could argue he was lucky with the defense. Derek Carr wasn't around to really enjoy what he had done last year. Can he get them there again? All right. Brian Guidry says, I think Carr's numbers will be around Rogers' annual number is 22.5 million, below Luck's 25 million per year. I can live with that. I can live with that. John Davis says, I'd like to know if babies make players better or not. Tucha, John Davis. Barry Lee says, go Warriors. Use his iPhone and YouTube. Yeah, I do. I use my iPhone and YouTube. I use YouTube Live Mobile because then I don't have to worry about the encoder issues. Specifically, I paid $29 for Wirecast Pro, and guess what? The damn thing doesn't work. That's right, I have a Wirecast on my computer. When I go to fire it up, it says, you need Wirecast Pro to use. And I thought, I just paid for the Pro license, and you're telling me I need to buy the Pro license all over again? In other words, I need to give you another $29? In other words, I'm staring at $60? Come on. So I'd rather use the phone. And, that's just the way it goes. Adam says, but one can argue that Carr is more consistent than Kirk Cousins. Is he? Really? Let's check the stats on that. I'm gonna pull up the stats on that and let's see. Derek Carr. I mean, you say, well, how do you check consistency? Well, of course, completion percentage, right? And so let's check Derek Carr's completion percentage first. All right, let's check that. So we've got Derek Carr stats, news, videos, yada yada, according to ESPN. Let's see. His career, it doesn't give me his career stats. Oh, here it is, the complete stats. Don't like the way that they've designed this. Here we go. All right. Derek Carr, his 3-year career, all right? Same as Kirk Cousins. He has played 47 games. He has career attempts. He has 1,732 attempts. 1,055 completions, a 60.9 completion percentage, 11,194 yards, a 6.6 yard average, 81 touchdowns, longest gain 77 yards, 31 interceptions, and 12 fumbles. His rating is 87.9. Now we go to Kirk Cousins, all right? Kirk Cousins. This is fun. Kirk Cousins. There we go. Kirk Cousins. Now, we go Kirk Cousins stats. And we scroll down and we look at his complete stats. And like Derek Carr, we have Kirk Cousins actually for 4 seasons. All right. So, 5 seasons. 5. So Kirk Cousins he's got, it's unfair to compare his absolute numbers. The percentages are just in this case 63.9%. But even then, 12,113 yards, even though he's played just 2 years longer, he's got a 7.79 yard average, 72 touchdowns, longest gain 81. He has 42 interceptions, 16 fumbles, but his rating is 93.6. So we have a 93.6 rating versus an 87.9. All right? And now a lot of that is due to the systems that they play in, without question. But this underscores my point. 87 and 93, and they're not far off. They're very close as quarterbacks. Cousins a little bit more because he's played 2 years longer in the league, so that's to be expected. Now, let's see here. Matthew, hey Zenny, hope you're having an amazing night. Thank you, love watching, thank you. Brian Guidry says Zenny, Cousins' numbers were inflated. They've been blown out and a lot of airtime as they abandoned the run. Great point, Brian Guidry. And Rick Rice says, look at their touchdown to interception ratios. Rick Rice is correct. Now, let's see here. John Davis says, I don't Cousins played as much as Carr in his first 3 years. John Davis is right. Yeah. Jamal Willis says I don't see it with Cousins. Rick Rice says Derek Carr has better stats than Tom Brady in his first 3 years. Does Cousins? He has more comparable to Brady. He's more comparable to Brady than Cousins. I would say Rick Rice, they're about the same, with an edge to Carr. However, remember, overall, Cousins has a 93 passer rating, just over 93. Okay, so there it is. Now, John Davis says, who plays better in the fourth quarter? I would argue that Kirk Cousins plays as well as Derek Carr. However, Kirk Cousins has one problem that Derek Carr has not shown, and that's his tendency, which he seemed to erase, but sometimes it comes back to haunt him, right? But it's that tendency to throw that interception you don't expect him to throw in the big games. And that interception that makes you go, see, I told you. Or if you're a Redskins fan, oh man, not again. All right. Now me, I've always been on the side of, see, yeah, see, all right. Because I'm a Bruce Allen fan, but I'm not, I don't, all that stuff. So anyway, now Barry says, don't forget to hit the thumbs up. Thank you, Barry. Thank you. And Jamal Willis says that Cousins is a good second string. John Davis says, who's played? I got that part. And Brian Guidry says, give me the guy who protects the ball a bit more. Derek Carr. Jamal Mills says they run more in Washington. Jamal, I challenge you. Is it that they run more in Washington, or is it that they have a more effective running game? Okay. The Raiders' running game last year sucked. And the year before it sucked. And you were saying, what am I talking about? I say it sucked because of the running play designs. That's why I say that. We could have gotten better production out of our running backs. That's what I'm saying. That's why I say that. All right? That's why I say that. Hey, Bernard, how are you? And Jamal Mills compares Kirk Cousins to Tony Romo. Interesting. Jamal Mills says, I agree, but Bernard says, no, it did not suck. And Jamal Mills says Raiders' running game did suck. Let's check the statistics on the Raiders' running game, because I contend the Raiders' running game sucked. And here's why I say the Raiders' running game sucked. Look at this, all right? Last year. First of all, it's not just the statistics I'm about to show you. It's the design. It was this inane use of this line buck play out of spread formation, out of that read option style handoff. It was driving me nuts, okay? Nuts. Just awful. Oakland Raiders run offense. Oakland Raiders run offense. Oakland Raiders stats in NFL. Here we go. Okay. Rushing yards. They were 100. Their average. They were 6th in rushing. And in terms of the league rank, they were 6th. All right. Passing yards, they were 13th. Yards per game, they were 6th. Points, they were 7th. Rushing, and I remember I said their potential, I thought from that perspective, sucked. I'm saying that, all right? First downs, Raiders, 16. Opponents got more. All right, fine. Rushing statistics. We had a total as basically we had our best rusher was, this is awful. These stats are awful. They have these stats that are up here that are essentially bad. That's the, what the heck are they doing here? Preseason stats, regular season. All right. The format for these are just bad in terms of numbers. All right. Numbers were horrible. All right. Murray, we had 4-yard rushing average. DeAndre Washington, 5.4. We only had Johnny Holton with a 7-yard average. For Murray, the longest was 42. And as far as rushing yards, plays, we had 434 rushes. Our average was 4.4 yards per rush. But our opponent was 4.5. Okay? 4.5. So my point is that when you start drilling down, looking at the running numbers, we didn't have that guy, that bona fide 1,500 yard back, because we didn't have that bona fide 1,500 yard scheme. Okay? The way we were running the ball was inefficient. It sucked. I'm sorry, it just sucked. Okay? Raider Kuko, how you doing? Carr plays with more passion. Remember the leap last year versus New Orleans where he flipped over on the sideline? Wait. You say, whoa, hold on a second. You're telling me that Derek Carr plays with more passion than Kirk Cousins? Hold on a second. Hold on a second. What? I mean, wait a minute. Hold on a second. That's what you're telling me, right? I mean, you just tweeted. You just tweeted. You wrote that, right? You wrote that, okay? All right. I mean, I'm serious. That's what you said, okay? That is what you said. I just want to make sure, I heard that. Okay? I just want to make sure I heard that. I read that. I read that as if you were saying it. So I heard that. Because that's what you wrote. I mean, you wrote that basically. Hold on a second. I just dropped something here, all right? You wrote that Derek Carr has more passion than Kirk Cousins. All right? Derek Carr has more passion than Kirk Cousins. You wrote that. All right? You wrote that. Okay? I'm just saying. You wrote that. You wrote that. Yeah, I'm repeating that again and again and again. All right? Remember, you wrote that, okay? You wrote that. Here is Kirk Cousins to answer you. You like that? All right, you hear that? You want to know the dose of that? Here's another dose of that. You like that? You like that? Okay. That is Kirk Cousins back to you. Okay? That was after the Tampa Bay comeback. That's hilarious to me. I'm sorry. Every time I see that, I crack up. You like that? You like that? You like that? Ricky Bobby. He's right. No one can determine who has more passion. Come on, guys. But I say you're wrong, Ricky Bobby. I say Kirk Cousins has more passion than Derek Carr. You like that? You like that? Passion is a hard barometer. That's right, Japper. That's right. Dang it, that's right. You like that? Carr was John Wayne's during the Panther game. He came back with a double dislocated finger. That's passion and guile. Oh, okay. I like that. I like that. I like that. Kirk likes that. Who else? Henry Flores. Zenny, I hate to disagree with you. Okay. All right. But you did. All right. You did. And all right. And thank you, Henry Flores, for repeating your point so I could see it. Thank you. But mine is still the same. Kirk Cousins has more passion. Nah. And here's why that's not always a good thing. Those costly interceptions. And what I like about Derek Carr is he doesn't get too high, or the too low part, I don't know. But he doesn't get so high that he throws consistently that interception that makes you go, dude. But like I'm saying, but Cousins, if you had to make a t-shirt with someone going, dude, it would be with Cousins in the background throwing a pick. All right? Which would be kind of a cool t-shirt because you'd have this dude, right? And then Cousins would be in the background throwing this pick and he'd be like, but the whole point is, you get what I'm saying, all right? So, Jamal Mills says, our run offense was a result of the wide receiver weapons and team worried more about the passing game. But even then, it's the design of the runs I objected to. Yeah, I understand all about, running out of passing formations. I've designed a ton of plays that are very effective, going all the way back to when I was in high school under that concept, all right? I object to this line buck system that Bill Musgrave had in the previous 2 years, where Carr was just handing off to Murray or Washington either on the left or the right as if it were a read option, and they were just, mindlessly running up the middle, as opposed to a kind of a fake read option off tackle or a trap draw play, something creative, or an end run. Never saw an end run from the Raiders, okay? And it's not that they couldn't do it. Musgrave has had some very intelligently designed running plays, particularly for the quarterback. So it's not that they can't do it. It's not that they were philosophically out of it. No, not at all. No. And let's see here. Go Warriors said he cut his finger with a knife and had to get 4 stitches today. Dude, what are you? Anyway, okay. But he's feeling great. Okay, so go Warriors. What say you about Derek Carr versus Kirk Cousins? All right. Big Eightful, thank you. Bernard says Manziel has more passion. Ricky Bobby say I can say both have more passion than Jay Cutler. Jay Cutler has so much passion, he's calling football games. Look at that guy run. Hey, I threw to him. He can catch. I know. I threw to him. That's Jay Cutler. Jay Cutler in the booth. That's going to be a sight, That's going to be something. Let's see here. Jabber. Derek Carr is a quarterback. All right. Derek Carr is Go Warriors says Derek has more passion. What? No. John Davis. Sherman wins. Don't you ever talk about me? Who's talking about you? Crabtree. Yeah, John Davis is okay. You know what? On that he is right. And just for old time's sake, we have to find that. Don't you ever talk about me. And that was hilarious. I have to, and I can only play that second of that. Okay, hold on. Discover the power. Right, hold on a second, folks. Put that there. Put it on large. All right. And let's see. I've got to put this on mute. I got to get the commercial thing out of the way. Skip the ad. All right. And here we go. I'm trying to find that right moment where, all right, I just found it because it features Aaron Andrews. All right, here we go. This is passion. This is passion right here. This is passion.
Take me through it.
Well, I'm the best corner in the game. When you try me with a sorry receiver like Crabtree, that's the result you're going to get. Don't you ever talk about me.
There you go. There you go. That's hilarious. That is classic. He stares at the screen, his nostrils are flaring. He's like a bull, You can see the steam coming out of his nose. It was cold, by the way. Oh, that was cool. That was hilarious. I mean, Richard. Oh man, John Davis loved it. I did too. And again, with Mr. Zinni, can they win the Super Bowl this year and in this football drought in Oakland? I think that the Raiders, on paper, have the team to go all the way. I really do. The question is, how will the defense respond? And the other question is, what's the design of the offense such that they're able to take advantage of the weapons they have? Now, Henry Flores says, after what Carr did in the Panthers game, he came out to a loud roar and cheer and lifted all the Raider Nation spirits. I give him a pass for his remark about Raider fans. Yeah, that didn't really register with me. In other words, I'm not upset with him about that at all. I'm not upset with Derek Carr about anything. I think the man is definitely worth his due. He's only making, $3 million a year right now. His signing bonus was $2.2 million. So, yeah, Derek Carr is about on track for what should be a nice payday. It should be this year because next year I could see Derek Carr with another team because he would be pissed off that the Raiders didn't take care of him. And given what Derek Carr is worth, assuming, of course, he gets the Raiders to the playoffs. If he doesn't, it's a different story. Okay? But I'm thinking that if I'm the Raiders, I want to lock him up right now because I don't want to be in a situation where, all right, and I said this before, I didn't value him, so therefore he didn't play well, so therefore we didn't go to the playoffs. You want the person that you regard as your star quarterback happy. So therefore you figure out a way to pay him. Incentive clauses, okay? Incentive clauses. Now, Rick Rice says, Sherman has a horrible, yeah. Brian Guidry says, they only go as far as the defense takes them. He's right. Steve Macy says, I would love a Super Bowl, but I would hate for Davis to receive the trophy. Yeah, I would like to see Mark Davis to receive the trophy. I just can't go there. Dorian says, the D needs to be the top 10 to win the Super Bowl. And Miguel says he agrees with Dorian. Ricky Bobby says he's not making that much and Carr isn't going anywhere. His deal will be done within a month, says Ricky Bobby. Benjamin West says we can definitely win it. All three phases have to ball not out and be healthy at the end of the year. Agree. Lock him up and throw away the key. Well, I don't mean if Derek happens to be watching. I don't mean lock him up, right? Right. Carr will get $120 million easy, says Dorian. Over how many years? Over how many years? Jordan Yancey says Raiders defense will be 10 times better than last year. I want to see the design. Henry Flores says, Zinni, the remark that Megatron made in regards to the Lions not letting him go, is that hidden message to the Raiders to make a deal for his rights? No, it is what it is. And the Lions, you have to be careful with that sort of thing because you don't want to be seen as the team that's tampering. I'm talking about the Raiders, okay, with Calvin's situation. The Raiders got a lucky deal with Marshawn because that could have went in a bad way. Suppose the Seahawks had said, no, we want you to come back here and play for us first. Play for us the preseason, play for us maybe the half of the year, and then you go to the Raiders or something like that, if that's even possible. But look, I mean, for him to leave for the Raiders as opposed to at the end of the year, right? But my point is that the Raiders were very fortunate to be working with a player in Marshawn Lynch who was loved and respected by the Seahawks to the point where they would allow him to essentially be released to the Raiders. That didn't have to happen. Miguel Rose, Zinni, how do you think the Raiders secondary has done this offseason? Well, it's just the OTAs. Nothing's happened. You can't evaluate how well a secondary is going to do really until I think that the third or really the fifth game of the year. Why do I say the fifth game of the year? Because It's the 5th game of the year. I call it the magic mark in a team's performance. That's when everybody's got a book on you. All right? Yeah, you've got your new approach with your new offensive coordinator. You got some new plays that you've installed. Maybe you ran some of them. Now, they got a book on you. And so the question is, after the 4th game and into the 5th, how well did you do? And then you can start evaluating your personnel from the perspective of, hey, are we better this year than last? Because it's a complex stew. Yeah, it's not just, oh, I got this defensive back who is, all Big 12, yada, yada, yada. No. That all Big 12 has to translate into being a member of your squad in a productive way, as opposed to taking up space and, taking your cash. So it takes that long. I caution everyone, it takes that long. Preseason, you should always pay attention to play structure. Not when a play is called, but for example, just pure out basic design. Spacing in offensive and defensive fronts. Basic techniques. Like, for example, on offense, do the offensive line people, when they pass block, do they give ground and thus allow the defensive players to shove them back and collapse the pass pocket? Some deep throwing teams adapt that style of pass blocking. Others use what I call fight blocking. They hit you right in the chest, stand you up on the line of scrimmage, you can't go anywhere as a defender. It's hard. Okay? The reverse, you've got some teams that love the 2-gap. Hey, you're a 300-pounder. I want you to control this gap and that gap. Oh, and by the way, the person you're doing with weighs about 340, 320 pounds and can bench press, maybe a Volkswagen Beetle on a good day. Okay? So, yeah, you know what I mean? As opposed to a defender that is assigned 1 gap, sick 'em. New England Patriots prefer 2 gaps. The Arizona Cardinals prefer 1 gap. I like the Cardinals defense better. Patriots, they get by on a complete game. That aspect of their defensive game, not the best. So, but it's not the worst either. Hey. Now, Steve Macy, I answered your question. My video about Mark Davis was the answer to your question. Corvette is here. Corvette says Raiders have to play way better defense to win a Super Bowl. And Miguel asks, I talked about the secondary part. And let's see here. I think Brian's claiming he's getting a bit of lag. So when that happens, I will put that there and see if that helps out. The computer, my phone was plugged in the computer for power, so I unplugged it, okay? And then also, I'm going to turn off the speaker that I was using when Kirk Cousins says, "You like that? You like that?" So maybe that'll improve things. Henry Flores. Steve, Zinni has a video with a response to your question. Thank you, Henry. Yes. Jabber says no lag there. Dorian says our third wide out might be an upgrade with Ishmael. The guy looks like a beast. Tight end will be an upgrade. So I think I will be better. I think the VI will be better. I think, Dorian, that I think it will be better. Gotcha. Jabber says, I feel like the Raiders don't even run any of their plays in preseason. Actually, they do. But it's situational. They'll test a play out here with this personnel grouping, or they'll test that play out over there with that personnel grouping, okay? But they don't game plan. In other words, they don't study your tendencies, study your personnel, and then call a set of plays based on that. In fact, they don't do that. They arguably don't even do that for the 4th game. All right? But that's why I say it's important to wait until the 5th game of the regular season, and also it's important to look at formation structure. Now, you might be saying, what does he mean by formation structure? And what I mean by that is this. This is formation structure, okay? This is a formation. Brown, tight end over here. This is basically Brown left, all right? Tight end over here. Split end over there, all right? Formation structure. The line splits. Where the running backs are, how far behind the line they are. And then blocking. What kind of style of blocking that they use. Structure. It doesn't matter when the play is called. If the team has a particular style of spacing between offensive line, or say between receiver and line and numbers, that seldom changes. You can tell a lot by a team just by watching how they line up with respect to their formations and what they do out of base formations. You can tell a lot about the personality of a team. Doesn't matter if it's preseason, doesn't matter if it's regular season in that case, okay? You can tell a lot about how the team is coached. Again, the basics and fundamentals. The difference between preseason and regular season comes down to game planning. Game planning is the mother's milk of football victories. Even beyond personnel. You can have what someone would say is crappy personnel. How many times have you heard someone on the radio say, oh, well, this team doesn't have great personnel. They have lousy players. And it's always because that team didn't do anything, right? How many times have you heard anybody in the media say that a team that had a great record had crappy personnel? All right? Now, I will tell you, there was a team that had a great record but crappy personnel. You want to know what team that was? It was the 1981 San Francisco 49ers that won their first Super Bowl, quarterbacked by Joe Montana. That team had no business doing as well as it did. None. They had a secondary full of rookies, led by Ronnie Lott, Carlton Williamson, Eric Wright. Okay? Dwight, and then they had Montana, a quarterback that no one wanted. They had Dwight Clark, who was a possession guy. They had Freddie Solomon, who was okay fast, but he wasn't the fastest guy. You couldn't look at the 49ers on paper and say that team will kick your butt. But guess what? Because of the way Bill Walsh coached them, they kicked a lot of butts. Now, sorry about that. I can't wait for Seth Roberts to be cut playing training camp in preseason and still retain his job. Harry Flores says, I don't know about you guys, but tonight I will say a small prayer that we get Megatron. And Steve Macy saw the video. Grant, excellent. And thank you for telling him, Mr. Flores. Now, Dorian says, I'm spot on. Thank you, Dorian. I appreciate it. John Davis says, Bill Musgrave helped our offense. Hope we don't go backward without him. I have nothing against Bill Musgrave, okay? And I'll come back to that in a second. I don't want to be construed as if I do, because I've sang Bill Musgrave's praises in this space before. Stevie Bruce says, Raiders were exposed when Carr went out. Carr covered up a lot of flaws on the team. I like this. Carr had 7 fourth-quarter come-from-behind wins last season. Without that, Raiders in the season with 11 losses. Ooh. Wait a minute. Ooh. Jabber says, agree, John, but he didn't take risks. John Davis says, but Del Rio did. Henry Flores, Zenny, the Raiders are in a 30-year lease, supposedly. Does that mean they're committed to stay for the entire time? No, because they did not sign the non-relocation agreement. Okay? So, no. Now, Miguel Rose, the Raiders need to go back to playing old school smash, mouth football, regardless of what Roger Goodell and the NFL think and believe. As if Commissioner Goodell directs the Raiders as to what to do. I don't actually think he does that. In fact, I know he doesn't. Rick Rice says, is Megatron still under contract with the Lions or is he FE? Let's find out. Hold on a second. And I'll come back to Musgrave, okay? Calvin Johnson contract. Let's see what he is listed to be. What he is considered to be, all right? And Calvin Johnson easily could have avoided reimbursement. Let's see Calvin Johnson's contract details. He signed a 7-year extension with the Lions in 2012. 2016, he hauled in, he had a bonus of $3.2 million, options of $8 million. He had a retiring bonus, is that what that says? Of $1.7 million, dead cap, $12 million, all right? So, let's see here. It wasn't a very complete explanation there. And, let's see here. Now, Pro Football Talk claims that Calvin Johnson could have easily avoided bonus reimbursement. And what this is by Mike Florio, who is a knowledgeable sports attorney, and he claims that former Lions receiver Calvin Johnson, who never said much during his playing career, lately has been saying plenty. Over the weekend, he said plenty about his current disillusionment with the team. Though he opted not to spell it out, the discontent comes from the fact that Johnson had to write out a check for $320,000 to the team, representing 10% of the $3.2 million in unearned signing bonus money remaining on his contract when he retired. And let's see here. As noted by Dave Burkett of the Detroit Free Press, the team's squeezing of Calvin for $320,000 doesn't mesh with the decision of teams like the Cowboys and Seahawks to not recover $5 million in signing bonus money from Tony Romo and Marshawn Lynch, respectively. So why did the Lions want 10 cents on the dollar from Johnson? Now we get the idea of what's really going on here, all right? The Lions, Florio speculates, may have wanted to collect something in order to avoid setting a precedent that other players could cite if retiring before earning all of their signing bonus money. In 1999, they pursued every unearned penny, from Hall of Fame tailback Barry Sanders, which was horrible. The easy way to avoid any untoward precedent would have been to cut Johnson, severing any right to bonus reimbursement. And that's ultimately, Foyle claims, what Johnson should have pushed them to do. With a salary of $15.95 million and a cap number of $24 million hitting the books in March 2016, the Lions likely could have cut Johnson if he refused to accept the restructured deal. So he should have held firm before choosing to retire. And so he says that in February 2016, Johnson was dragging his feet about his retirement decision, prompting speculation that he hoped to be released instead, both to avoid the repayment obligation and to have the ability to sign with any other team if he chooses, if he ultimately wants to unretire. So while Johnson has every right to be miffed at the Lions, Johnson should also be miffed at himself. This is for Florio. Or at whoever advised him to retire, instead of biding his time until the Lions would have released him. So that's the situation, okay? Now, apparently, and I do remember there was talk at the Super Bowl regarding Johnson's situation you know who Nate Burleson is, right? Nate Burleson of the NFL Network, who's headed to CBS Sports, was having a really interesting conversation with Deion Sanders about Calvin Johnson and whether or not he wanted to play. And I don't want to misquote Burleson, but I'm recounting what I heard sitting at the round table with them. But the idea was that Johnson really had lost his passion for the game, okay? And that he was done. And he didn't want to come back. Somewhere between that point, as Burleson interpreted it, and now, Johnson, it would seem, believes that he's entitled to better treatment and may be able to get it someplace else as a way of doing this to the Lions. Okay? Remember, with the Lions, he played his heart out, but he never got a ring. I felt a lot of Calvin Johnson's issues were with the incredible performance they had, getting oh so close, but being unceremoniously drubbed out of the playoffs by the Cowboys. And I think that really affected him. I really do. So, hey, Barry, good night. Good night. I'll see you. Good night. Good night. And Brian Guidry says, which is why no one really wants to play for them. And Jabber says, that's how you treat a future Hall of Famer. The Lions held his rights and is still under contract. Yes. And good night, Go Warriors. Good night. Good night. And Brian Guidry says, isn't he the guy that tried throwing the ball at reserve O-lineman on 2 and 3 to go? Yeah. And see, Rick Rice says, is Megatron? Yeah, I answered Rick Rice's question. Dorian says, and this is why the Patriots are so good. The coaching staff makes sure they are in the right spots. So Brian Guidry says, what, you mean Musgrave didn't take a risk? We'll get to that in a second. All right, now, Brian Guidry says, Javon Walker tried retiring and returned the money he got from Al Davis. Al said, no, keep it. Give me 20 catches, touchdowns, and I'll call even. Ha. Give me 20 catches, a touchdown, call even. Ha. Yeah, I mean, that's the way you treat a player. And you don't know financially what that person's going through. And by the way, I believe that Mark Davis is going through some financial issues we're not aware of. And that concern has led him to try to sell part of the team as a percentage. And even though the Raiders said that wasn't the case, they have a way of trying to not publicly announce that sort of thing. And ultimately what led them to pursue a deal with the devil in Las Vegas. I cannot confirm it, but my gut tells me that Mark Davis' raison d'etre for Las Vegas has nothing to do with some promise he made to Nevada Governor Brian Sandoval. Not that he didn't make it, and not that he doesn't intend to keep it. I think it allowed him a convenient excuse. I think there's something else wrong. And I think that something else has to do with cha-ching, cha-ching. So, Brian Guidry says, Carlos Rogers, Roy Williams, Mike Williams, enough said. Drew Glace, Calvin wearing Raiders t-shirts at OTAs, and Derek Carr at the golf course is a major FU to the Lions. Well played, Drew. Ultima Shotobola, you think the Chargers feeling dumb off the move? Yeah, I do. Ricky Bobby, he's not trying to sell a percentage of the team. He refused to even sell to Las Vegas. Ricky Bobby, that is not true. In fact, there is a letter that was circulated and then was yanked down from the internet that was written in 2015 mid-year by Mark Bedane, which, among other things, explained the Raiders wanted to sell 20% of the team to Floyd Gephardt as part of this land exchange. And the reason why I remember that so much like it happened yesterday is because I told the mayor, hey, you're being put in a position where you're going to spend public money to make that guy a billionaire, meaning Floyd Gephardt. And that is how it's going to come out politically, and you are going to look bad. Okay? That was the issue. Floyd wanted us to give him public money, but he wasn't telling people that he was going to get a part of the Raiders. Heck, if that's the case, why not the city of Oakland and the county of Alameda get a part of the Raiders? You know what I mean? Jeez. So no, no. Now, Brian Guidry says, Mark Davis's major accomplishment to football was the invention of the hand warmer and never filed for a patent. Okay. Corvette says they drafted Jamarcus Russell, should have drafted Calvin Johnson instead. You know, Corvette, I liked and was behind and am still behind the idea of Jamarcus Russell as the Raiders pick. And I'll tell you why. Because I said then, and I'll say it now, okay? And, LX9933 says, wasn't that letter before Las Vegas came to the table? It was. Yeah, it was. The Raiders have been trying to sell a percentage of the team as far back as 2005. Okay? Utama says, you think the NFL is on a decline based on the moves in TV ratings? It's not looking good, okay? It's still the most popular appointment television around. Let's not kid ourselves. The NFL is still very powerful. And Roger Goodell is on par if, what's-his-name gets impeached, to basically last about as long as two presidents. He is a custodian of American culture. So don't get this in your head that the NFL power is somehow diminished. It's way high to begin with. We in Oakland have been spoiled by hearing the name of our city mentioned on national and world television again and again and again. So much that we take it for granted. It's horrible. Now, Ricky Bobby says that was to Gephardt, not Vegas. That doesn't matter, Ricky. You have no idea what he's proposing with Vegas. And again, I point to you this. The Raiders went all over to yank that document down from the internet. Okay? All over the place. So, no. Now, no. In fact, do you realize that last fall there was talk that Shell Nadelson was to take over the Raiders at some point before the acrimony started, either fake or real acrimony, depending on what you choose to believe. Now, John Davis says, how many quarterbacks did we go through around that time? It was not all Jamarcus Russell's fault, but yes, his weight got out of hand. And let's see here. Ricky Bobby brings up the whole Lou Wolf thing. Nah, that doesn't. Ricky says that proves MD was trying to keep the team in Oakland. Actually, that does not prove that, because along that time he was also talking to San Antonio. Keep that in mind, okay? Now, Brian Guidry says Lane Kiffin was the only reasonable man in the building and wanted to draft Megatron. I'm sorry, Zinni, there's no justifying Russell. Yes, there is. Put him in the middle of a short ball control passing game with 4 and 5 wide receivers. He hits those passes like that. Okay? Make the system simple for him to run and allow him to grow into its operation. He would have done exceptionally well. I completely disagree. What Lane Kiffin did, by contrast, was threw this playbook at him and then put him in some situations that, in a number of cases, was downright stupid. I'll give you an example. 3rd and 10, Denver. First year as a rookie. The Raiders line up, because Kiffin called the play, in an I formation, and he called, a bootleg. The Broncos had 2 dogging linebackers from the weak side of the formation, and they creamed Jamarcus Russell. He got up, walked off the field shaking his head like, why did you put me in that situation? No. No, no, no. I challenge everybody. Jamarcus Russell in a spread passing system would have been an outstanding first-year quarterback if you know how to design offenses. If you know how to design offenses. You take a Jamarcus Russell, you put him in that garbage of an offense that they ran, you get what you got. Now, I'm serious about that. I'm serious about that. Now, Dorian says Russell was a bigger bust than Leaf. No, he wasn't. No, he wasn't. You know what? You know what Jamarcus Russell has that Ryan Leaf does not have? $29 million, buddy. Jabber. J. Russ was a dopehead. They gave him a blank DVD and said it was good plays. Look, the game plan that they gave for Jamarcus Russell was lousy, okay? It was freaking lousy. I'm saying this so that everybody hears it and it's drilled into the collective conscience of the world. It was bad. It was major league bad, and Lane Kiffin should have been ashamed of himself. 4 or 5 wide receivers. Bubble screens. Fake reverses to the flanker, bootleg by Russell, who's big enough and fast enough to execute those. Have him gain 5, 10 yards, throw the defense off. Don't make a steady diet of it. Y stick throws, 5 yards, turn around. Boom, completion. I can go on and on and on. You got me started, all right? Ugh. Ugh. And Miguel says, Jamarcus Russell was one of the worst things ever to happen to the Raiders. No, he wasn't. He was a great thing. Jamarcus Russell was one of the biggest busts in NFL history. No, he wasn't. Ryan Leaf was. He also sucked when he played for LSU in college as well. No, he didn't. King Jose, hey. Oh, King, I missed it. I apologize. Rick Rice says Russ was overpaid by $29 million. As far as I'm concerned, he was worth every penny. I'm sorry, I'm not getting off the idea that Jamarcus Russell was the right choice for the Raiders at the right time. They just didn't coach him properly. See, too many of you out there, you don't want to blame the coach. The coach gets no blame whatsoever. Me, I'm pointing the finger at the coach first thing out of the box. Hey, it's only you, pal. You coach him. No. Okay? No. God, I love having this argument. Oh, me against the world on Jamarcus Russell. I'll take on all of you. I'll take on 1 million of you. You're all wrong. You're wrong. Okay? Just wrong. I mean, look at the stats. What a ridiculous comment, says Monty. Just look at me. Look. What? Okay. What? And thank you. Monty was right. Thank you. I didn't see the rest of that. Monty, thank you. Leaf was a way bigger bust than Russell. Thank you. Yeah, I don't get this, you know. King Jose is 19. King Jose, we're talking about now Jamarcus Russell. We're talking quarterbacks. I contend that Jamarcus Russell was a great selection for the Raiders, who was the victim of a bum playbook. Okay? And a terrible game plan design. And a terribly designed set of plays. Instead of the classic West Coast Bill Walsh offense, I'm not going to blame Coach Walsh here, because in Coach Walsh's system, there are 5 wide receiver and 4 wide receiver sets. You can pretty much design anything you want to design within the Walsh system. All you need is the nomenclature and a more than passing interest in footwork. Okay? Not to mention wide field, narrow vision. Steve Mariucci, I see you. Now, Rick Rice says, crappy players always have someone to blame. No, you're wrong. Who draws the plays? Who designs them? Who calls them? Kiffin, not Russell. Period. Jamarcus Russell is quite literally the slave, hate to use that term, but it's true, to Lane Kiffin. That's it. Jamarcus Russell's future was in Lane Kiffin's hands, or more appropriately, his cranium, because he was calling the plays. He screwed up. Ricky Bobby says, did Dennis Allen set Pryor up to fail? Arguably. And Rick Rice is just wrong about Russell. You all are wrong about Russell, except those who agree with me. Me, okay? Sorry. Corvette says, yeah, the coaches of the Raiders were bad, but why didn't he go to another team and excel? He says he was lazy from... Corvette, I don't know where you get this stuff from. Jamarcus Russell was put in a situation that was designed for him to fail, not succeed, okay? They force-fed him into a system rather than designing a system around him. I remember I had a conversation about Jamarcus Russell with my buddy, then buddy Bill Chackus at the NFL draft. We were there when he was drafted and interviewed him. In fact, you can see on Zinni 62, if you go to Zinni 62, type Jamarcus Russell here, you can see his comments. But I said, when we were at dinner at the Rainbow Room at the Rockefeller Center, yeah, it was a nice big steak. I think I have a video of that too, but I digress. I said to Bill right then and there at that table that I felt Russell was better than Brady Quinn. We were looking at a text. We were getting text messages about what was going on. And I was overjoyed when I learned that the Raiders are going to pick Russell. Because I said then, right then, that in the kind of 4 or 5 wide receiver set system I was talking about now, I said it then, I said he'd excel. He never saw that. And I said that before the Raiders officially took him. I said that before the Raiders officially took him. You hear what I'm saying? I said it before the Raiders officially took him. So this has been on my brain for quite some time. I'm really pissed off about this. The Raiders screwed this one up. Now, LX says, Rich Gannon, Jamal Mills is repeating the idea that Jamarcus Russell was terrible in that system. Okay? Rest in peace, Derek Jensen, says Monty. And, yeah, Ricky Bobby. I called it. I said that, same with Terrell Pryor. I felt that Pryor should have started. In fact, I called it. 3 years before the Raiders started Terrell Pryor, I predicted he would start. Bing. I didn't predict the type of offense. They were in love with making him a runner rather than, what the Seahawks had designed for Russell Wilson. Genius offense. Love it, okay? Love it. Brian Gibson says, not saying Lane was perfect, but come on, man. No, you come on, man. Lane screwed that up. He did. So, no, you come on, man. Nothing but love and respect for you, all right? But I love to argue, too. You're wrong, dude. Miguel Rose says, Russell couldn't even beat big-name teams like Notre Dame, USC, Cal, Ohio State, Michigan State, Florida, etc. when he was in college. So it's no wonder he sucks so bad at the NFL. He was drafted number 1, pal. He was always there. He came to the combine, did what he was supposed to do. So, Miguel, I disagree with you. Okay? He was good enough to be put in that area. It wasn't the Raiders picking him out and saying, oh, we got this fine, we're going to draft him number 1. It was a consensus that either he or Brady Quinn should be number 1. I remember that like it happened yesterday. I even have a video at Zinni 62 here that it's called Brady Quinn and the Onion. Because remember, the Onion, the newspaper? They'd written this satirical about Brady Quinn, and we went to ask him if it was true on camera. Anyway, it was stupid, but it's all that fun. But let's see here. How do you? But Jabber, that doesn't mean anything. That doesn't take away the fact that the game plans and the offense he was put in sucked. Sucked. Bad. All right? Ricky Bobby. Let's see here. Brian says they had better success with him on the bench. But the system still sucked. Corvette says, yeah, the coaches for the Raiders were bad. But why did he go to another team? Oh, and I meant to answer that question. He wasn't in a position to just jump contractually to another team. Okay? And plus, he was placed in a position where he was depressed. He didn't know. He was young. He's a kid. You all act like he's a 40-year-old man. I can do this and I can do that. He doesn't know. He's young. He's like King Jose. King Jose is 19. King Jose is 19. No offense to King Jose, you're 19. You don't understand what I'm saying. You know what you know, and you don't know what you don't know. He's 19. Russell was what, 21? 20? Something like that? So, yeah. Same as Ty Detmer says, I like this Monty guy. Alex says, why are you making excuses for him? I don't have to make the excuses. They exist. Anybody who knows football knows he was in the wrong system. A lot of people do not know technical football. I'm putting it there. I'm putting it right to the brethren. Right out there. Boom. Right in your lap. Boom. You hear that? Boom. Yeah. Boom. That's what I'm saying. Dirty Kosar. Ricky says, do I think... It has nothing to do with color here. All right? Wait a minute. There is an issue at the time. And the reason why I say that is because times change. Because look at, Deshaun Watson and the Texans. He's going to do really well. And we've now come to this point in our society. We have arguably a perfect marriage between talented black quarterback and system ready to accept him. How many times in the NFL's past have we had a situation where it was talented black quarterback like Vince Young, system not ready to accept him? I remember having an argument with Pat Kerwin of CBS, a friend of mine, for some time about a friendly one. It was in 2006 about Young and about what is, read option system. And his contention, get this, that you could not run that system in the NFL. Did you hear what I said? Did you hear what I said? Did you hear what I said? That was the argument we had. We had it right in the middle of the lobby at the Detroit Renaissance Hotel for the Super Bowl. The 2006 Super Bowl, which is one after the one in Jacksonville. That was the one that I tried to get to be in Oakland. Anyway, okay. But the bottom line is we had the argument right there. Fun discussion. And then I took off for Lee Steinberg's party. Anyway. Izzo is a fantastic coach. King Jose. Zinni, what do you think about Gizzo? Ding. 2 thumbs way up. Ricky Bobby says 21. As in the restaurant in New York, Ricky Bobby? Now, Brian Gidry says Rolando and Huff were the only picks post-Chucky era that he was totally that Brian was totally happy with. And folks, it is nearing 2 o'clock, and I am going to bid you adieu at about 1:50 because I am, about 2 o'clock I'm fading. This is a fun discussion. I love this. You know why this is a fun discussion? Because I'm right and you're wrong. That's right, because I'm right and you're wrong. That's right. Oh, this is great. Brian Gidry, I told Zinni he could interview him Skype with me when I arrive at MSU, but he keeps jumping over my message. Oh, I'm sorry, King. Love to. Definitely love to. Sorry, I'm stuck on this whole Jamarcus Russell thing. It got me going on that one. All right? In fact, Jamarcus Russell. Well, glad we have a good QB now in Carr. Corvette, that's something that we can both agree on. I know. That is definitely something we can agree on. Jamarcus Russell. And I'm just want to get a little treat for you guys before I close out here, okay? And guess what? I do believe I have found that thing. Okay? Hold on a second. 1 moment, please. Turn that on. Turn that down a bit. Put it on mute. All right? Turn that up there. Okay? Mute. And play that, all right? And let's see here. Where are we? Okay, folks. Here is the treat I am about to show you. All right. Pay attention because you're gonna love this. A Zinni 62 special. Hold on a second, folks. From the archives. All right. Unmute.
What's this time been like for you?
Last couple days, kind of fun. Been here day early, see the town a little bit. Kind of got my family with me. Right on Times Square. Just to get a chance to see everything.
What's the anticipation time you're waiting to get away?
It's a good thing that we wait for. But right now, you can get to the time point where you're very anxious. See what's going to live your life for the next couple of years.
What do you hear from the waiting?
I heard nothing. None at all.
What was the last contact you had?
When I went on my visit, basically saying, you like what I do, big fan, wait till the draft, shit like that. Being a competitor that I am, I love that. It did take for me to get in and see how I got it. I already learned. And with that also, it's just what I am.
Tell me about the responsibility of becoming an NFL player. What that means to you.
It means a lot, just a chance to go and get out there. The opportunity is short. Everybody doesn't get the same opportunity, so it takes advantage of any and every way you can.
What about the financial responsibility? Is it a contract? Are you ready for that point going?
Yeah. That's the whole point of joining the time point in life where you have to make decisions. Whatever decision you make, you have to run with it. So everything that comes along with it, you got to do no matter what.
You haven't had one call from the Raiders. Would you be surprised then if your name gets selected? What are you thinking right now happens to you on draft day?
I have no power over sign. Just wait to find out.
So would you be surprised if they took you, given they've had no contact?
Won't be surprised at all.
Typically, you want to make contact early on, or contract early on. So is it some concern about
No, I have my agent do that job with everything from having relationship. I think they're very good.
Have they contacted you?
Guys I know of, they didn't contact me.
If you had a choice for one team over another, does it matter?
It doesn't matter. Like I say, everybody doesn't get the same opportunity. The thing is, you get an opportunity being in the NFL for one thing, just to make that far in life. To play for a team is another. And I'll be more than happy to do it. And just be very fortunate that I'm in the position and the situation I'm in right now.
It doesn't matter where you go.
Where do you think you might fit best? You obviously know you're going in the top picks. So, given the teams that can pick you, where do you think you fit best?
Watching that style of play, I did it all in college. We ran we ran so there's many formations and different offenses in college. All of them have different ways of doing what they do. And just looking at them all, pretty fit everywhere.
So that was my third year covering the NFL draft. That was Jamarcus Russell, who, as you can see, had no idea where he was going or if he was going to the Raiders. And so that, so there you go. But I think someone out there had said, that's an old video. That's my old video. That's not anybody's. That's mine, okay? I've covered the draft for the last 12 straight years, period. Some of you, if you're paying attention to the video and not getting caught up in how much you dislike Jamarcus Russell, noticed the name of Gaines Adams. He died of a heart attack just, I think, 2 years after he was drafted by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers as defensive end. Sad story. Nice man. And so, no, Rick, I think the problem as far as that was the microphone. King Jose, I try to get between 9 and 9:30 Pacific, and then, which is 12:30 at night on Eastern. But anyway, getting back to the comment, the mic was not placed close enough to where people could understand him. So, and I was thinking about it at the time. I was still new and green, and I ran my own business. I wasn't there for somebody else. It was all my business. And I was making video using YouTube. And I thought, I didn't want to be the one that rushed over and adjusted the mic because I thought maybe security might throw me out or something. It's the kind of common thoughts you go through when when it's your first time doing something and others have done it there and they're, veterans, right? So, but the bottom line is, and others may have noticed that someone came over midway through the interview and they put the mic closer to his mouth so we can understand him. So that was all of our faults collectively. Now, let's see here. Miguel Rose says, you guys had this interesting. 831, how are you? John Mark says, Jamarcus Russell better than Mark Wilson. Thank you. And let's see here. Okay, Miguel, we know you do not like Jamarcus, but Monty says, what would you guys do if you were ever to meet J. Russ? What would you tell him, and could you keep a face that won't say, phew? Oh, no, you know what I would say to him is I would say, hey, I was fortunate enough to be there when you were in the interview room at Chelsea Piers for the luncheon when you were drafted. I met you, I met your agent, and I was there when you were selected. That's what I would say to him. And I said, I would say to him, that's a proud moment in my life because I started my own media company and was able to be there. And with the help of my family too, because, but the bottom line is I was able to be there. And the NFL allowed it, and Joe Brown, because they saw how horribly the city of Oakland had treated me, and let me build my media company around the draft. That's why some people now don't understand why I take the position of the Raiders that I do. But, I worked hard to build this business around the league and around Comic-Con and WonderCon and the Oscars and the relationships that I built. And I wasn't going to piss them away for that issue. The issue of the Raiders relocation. Not at all. All right? So, I really worked hard to do all this. So, excuse me. Now, Brian Giddey says, I wonder how many more clients he got after Russell got paid. And Miguel Rose says, 831 Scott, I totally disagree with you. You don't play sports just for the love of the game or to have some fun with it or some dumb, you play to win the game and not at all. No, some people play for fun, Miguel. I don't think that's dumb. That's, let's see here. Now, cool, all right. Maury says, top 3 best Raider picks, Tim Brown, Gene Upshaw, and Marcus Allen. Who goes 1, 2, 3? Hey, you know what? I'm going to leave that for the next live stream. Miguel Rose, J. Russ, says Jabber. And 831 Scott, I got to go back and see what 831 Scott was saying. 831 Scott said, Miguel Rose, you can say the same thing about coaches like Marty Schottenheimer. That doesn't mean that they are great coaches. You have to have the talent to win the Super Bowl. You have to have the coaching to win the Super Bowl. The coaching. Again, the 81 49ers were not the richest talented team, but they were the best coached under Bill Walsh. Okay? All right, folks, it's 11:55. I'm going to start doing the wave and saying good night. And thank you all for participating. This has been a fun conversation about quarterbacks, current and past. You got to admit, this is a fun conversation. I had fun. Did you have fun? I hope you had fun. I hope everybody took this in the spirit that was intended. Didn't take anything personally. Good night, Miguel. I love this. And good night. Thank you, John Davis. Thank you very much. Thank you. J. Russ could have been good. He could have been, what is it? He could have been a contender. Good night, John. Good night, Brian Guidry. Deuces. Hopefully no tornadoes. I know. Brian speaks for me. Good night, everybody. Good night. Thank you all. And where's Crawford when you need him to close us out? But that's okay. Crawford, we know what you're thinking. And you can bet it's all going to be. And we'll see you tomorrow. Good night. Good night, everybody. Good night. Thank you, Rick. Thank you. Peace. Peace out. Peace, love, and soul. Good night. 831 Scott, I love that you love the streams. Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you. Jammer says, coulda, shoulda, woulda, but he didn't. Like he could have been a contender. All right. Good night, everybody. I'll see you.